Hello there, hope you're doing well, long time no see. So, just a little tiny reflection in regards to suffering and pain. We know that all human beings go through pain and suffering, from a baby through the ages of our lives. And pain and suffering is part of humanity, is inevitable, cannot avoid it. But we can get some teachings from our pain and suffering, or little reflections. So one of the things that I can think about pain and suffering is that when I'm in pain and when I'm suffering, there's something going on that my body is telling me that doesn't belong there. Like, for instance, if I have tumors, right? So that's like if I get pain from them, that tells me that those tumors not belong to my body. If I cut my finger, the bleeding or the pain from the bleeding tells me that something happened to my body. And this can happen mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and of course physically. So when we are suffering, when we are experiencing pain or suffering, I think that it can be like a red flag telling us, hey, there's something going on. Like if I'm super sad or depressed, I'm super anxious, there's something going on inside of me that my body is reacting to it and telling me there is something off. It needs to be fixed. It's disordered. So I think that pain and suffering has the value of telling me that something is wrong and needs to be fixed, and I need to go, and seek for help. And the other thing that we can get from suffering and pain, in my perspective, is that when we suffer and when we have pain, when we're, in our human lives, of course, human lives, when we are suffering, it also reminds us, of course, that feeling or that disease isn't something that we were created with from the beginning. Like when we were created by God, he didn't create suffering and pain. That's the consequence of our original sin. I'm not gonna go there. Yet we know that because of our concupiscence, our tendency to sin and to go back to our roots of our first parents who sinned and disobeyed God, that's the consequence of our actions. So all of our suffering is the consequence of either individual or social sin. So that's part of a reminder that we were not created to suffer. And in that regard, suffering and pain gives us hope. What kind of hope? You might say, like, really? Like, I'm going through this pain and you don't know what it's like and I'm suffering, or this depression is killing me, or this anxiety, or whatever this is you might be going through. Yes, I understand. Suffering is not fun, and at the time of suffering, I know that it's hard to see beyond what our pain can let us feel. Yet, if we are reminded that we were not created to suffer and to be in that kind of pain, that gives us hope. Why? Because after we die and after we pass purgatory, there's not going to be any more pain. And of course, when Jesus comes the second time, our bodies are going to be resurrected. And again, no pain, no suffering. So our lives are going to be, painless. And there's not going to be any more suffering in any kind of sense, So again, pain and suffering has great value if we can see it with the eyes of faith. One, it can be a red flag telling us there's something off in our lives in any aspect, and asking us to analyze it and seek for help because something is disordered, either physically, mentally, spiritually. And the other thing about suffering and pain is that it reminds us that we were not created to suffer. Therefore, there's going to be a time when we die and we, are, of course, after we pass purgatory, where we're not gonna be suffering anymore. And this is, of course, spiritually, because our bodies decay. But when Jesus comes the second time, our bodies are also gonna be resurrected. So therefore, our bodies also not gonna experience any kind of suffering or pain. So again, hopefully, if you are experiencing any pain or suffering in your life, physical, emotional, spiritual, or physical, emotional, psychological, any kind of pain or suffering, that you can use it as a red flag telling you there's something off and something in your life needs to be ordered the way that it was meant to be ordered. And the other thing is that it should help us to have that hope, knowing that our sufferings and pain are not going to be in vain, and that at the end of times, we will be like how God created us to be from the beginning, without pain and suffering. So again, I'll pray for you that you may see suffering and pain from a different lens, knowing that you're not alone, that we cannot avoid pain or suffering, yet we can use it to help us be better in all senses, and also to have hope in our resurrection. God bless you.